but I can hear you guys, so like I'll time it.
Yeah, when I say when I start saying
The what?
our first ball player, our first pro ball player. Welcome back. Baseball's Dead, episode 6, 235radio.com. DJ Mel, DJ Hectic, Jordan Jewell's in the production. Today we have Dugout Boy, Jovan Enriquez. And I'm very excited about our guest. He's our first pro ball player. Miami Marlin, Malden native, Paul Campbell. Paul.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being a great sport. I know we dealt with some difficulties here with the studio stuff, but I'm glad that you hung on, man. And I want to say thank you and congratulations on everything you've accomplished thus far, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Right on. Hey, so Paul, let's talk about your journey a little bit. Let's talk about first. My question to you was, growing up in Malden, I know you went to Forestdale Elementary School. That's the same place Jovan went. What made you decide to go from either going to Malden High School or Malden Catholic? What was the deciding factors there?
I mean, first of all, I think my parents wanted me to go to a Catholic high school regardless. And then with it being right in my backyard, that was definitely helpful. My brother went there. Had ties to Frecka, I guess. Coach Steve Frecka, he was the coach there when I got there as a freshman. So I mean, there was a lot that played into it, but it being in my backyard definitely helped.
Right on. How was your experience there?
It was good. I mean, it got me to where I am today, so I'm grateful for Malden Catholic. And I thought it was a good structure that they had, and it set me up for later on down the line.
Did you pitch much there? I know at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, you did.
I wouldn't say I was exactly their ace, but I mean I definitely pitched there.
I mean I would say you definitely had the stuff to be their ace. I remember those days vaguely, but you played. Who'd you play for your travel team? Was it the Legends?
Yep, I played with the Legends. I played with the Legends when I was 12 and 14. I played with a team called Athletic Edge when I was 13. They were coached by Adam Lukowski, who was the Eastern Mass All-Star coach. I went to his team after my 12-year-old year for 1 year. And then I believe my 14-year-old year is when I began playing with the Roughnecks. I played with them until I got into college.
You said East Coast All-Stars?
Eastern Mass All-Stars. That was like I believe it was 12-year-old Cooperstown team.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
Those guys always call me looking for ball plays.
Yeah.
They're off of Route 2 somewhere, right?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where it was. I didn't even end up making the team, but the coach who ran it ended up putting together his own travel team the following year. So he kind of plucked a few players and assembled a team, and we were pretty good.
Right on. Hey, so when you went to Malden Catholic, did you have good grades?
I had decent grades. I didn't fail anything, but I wasn't a straight A student.
So let's talk a little bit about your decision making. Like as far as you went to Malden Catholic, you're playing travel ball. I know that when you played travel ball, there weren't as many travel ball teams as they are now. Definitely. I mean, there's travel ball teams everywhere now. Everybody's a guru at everything when it comes to baseball nowadays. But so you went ahead and you decided to go post grad. Explain
Yep,
to
I
me
did
explain to us what made you make that decision.
Well, first and foremost, I graduated kind of young for my grade. I was 17 when I graduated Malden Catholic.
Okay.
So just kind of being, that would have put me at, I would have been an older graduate doing the post grad year. So I did that just to create more leverage for myself going into college as far as schools to choose from. Once I reclassified, I got a ton more offers because I had another year to develop.
So who offered?
Who offered?
Yeah.
I mean, I had a lot of offers. It was mostly Northeast schools and then some schools in the Carolinas. I was pretty much on the verge of committing to Boston College, and it was just kind of up in the air if my grades were going to be good enough. So we kind of delayed the offer a little bit, and I ended up going to South Carolina the following week, and I ended up committing to Clemson. It was my last visit out of, I believe it was 4 or 5 schools that I had visited during that week. And when I got to Clemson, I was pretty blown away by the facilities and, the things that they had to offer. It's definitely a big school, and I think that played a big role into my decision making.
That's a big thing, man. The facilities that these D1 schools offer, it's state of the art, huh?
Absolutely.
So
That was the thing, is when I got there, I hadn't seen anything like that. So
yeah.
I was kind of blown away a little bit. I mean, whether it was, the right decision or not, I didn't pitch a bunch in college, but I am where I am today, so I'm grateful for the road that I took.
So what, awesome. Paul? Why don't we talk about that if you don't mind? Let's talk.
Yep.
Let's talk about your choice. I know that now you're let's say 18, right? When you graduate, what school did you go to again? Post grad.
I went to Salisbury School in Connecticut.
That team was stacked.
Yeah, we were stacked. New England Baseball Journal actually rated us like the best team ever to come out of New England or something like that. But yeah, there was a lot of talent on the team. That school was very structured. That school got me ready for college pretty good. Just being on my own, living on my own, taking care of my schoolwork, time management, stuff like that.
So would you advise a kid, let's say a kid that has some talent? I have some young kids right now. There's one young kid. He's actually an 8th grader right now, and big, strong kid, hits the ball a lot. He's actually going into the 8th grade. And we're talking to the dad about schools and stuff, and you know how some of these ISLs are boarding schools. Do you think it's a big game changer as far as you becoming a young man and getting ready for school if you go to a boarding school?
Absolutely. You're definitely doing things on your own, and you have to be accountable for what you do with your time. The school itself was really good at, forcing structure onto us. Was it the most fun? Probably not. But, it got me to where I am today, and I think it was a great stepping stone to getting to college. I got to, focus on getting stronger, eating healthier, what I was doing, how to study correctly, all that stuff really got thrown in my face when I went to Salisbury. It was, it was go time.
Yeah. So now you go, you make your final decision, you go to Clemson. When you get there, talk a little bit about that experience.
It was a really good experience. I got there. Sorry, I'm over here getting calls. Yeah, I got to Clemson. It was definitely a different environment from, what we grew up in. I mean, one being in the South, it was a little small southern school, but had a big city feel to it a little bit, because it was so small. The downtown area is small and everybody's so, close knit. They all love Clemson. A lot of the people who go to Clemson are from the area.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of tradition at Clemson. So that, I mean, it was an awesome experience just to go out of my element a little bit. And, ultimately it was a great experience for me, through everything.
But I mean, did it fulfill your aspirations as far as you going there? I mean, you must have had a goal when you first step foot into that school campus. You must have said, okay, this is where I am and this is where I'm going with this, and they're gonna help me get there. Did they fulfill that for you?
No, I wouldn't say that they fulfilled that for me. I mean, there's no bad blood at Clemson, but I mean, I wish things had gone a little bit differently. I mean, I wish I would have played more. I wish I would have developed a little bit more on the baseball side of things. But I mean, ultimately, it taught me how to deal with adversity too. When things weren't going my way, how was I gonna deal with situations? What was my work ethic gonna be like when, I got shelved and I knew I wasn't gonna be playing? Was I gonna sit there and pout about it, or was I gonna just go to the gym, or whatever, throw a bullpen on my own? Whatever it was that I had to do, I did, because I never lost sight of where I wanted to be. I knew I didn't want Clemson to be my final destination.
Okay. So now, what advice would you give to a young player in the Northeast that really doesn't have the experience, right? Doesn't have the experience that of going to these schools, like as far as making that choice. What would you tell that kid? Don't get caught up in the Friday Night Lights and really
Yep.
look into the coaching. Like, what advice would you give the kid?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. That's what I didn't have. I didn't have somebody to tell me, this is what you should be looking for. And like you said, I got a little bit caught up in the Friday Night Lights of the big school, and wanting to create my own legacy there. And it's okay that it didn't happen. One thing I would tell a younger kid in that situation is, look at all the aspects of it. Look at the schooling first and foremost, because different schools have different whatever, what you can handle and what you can't handle. So you want to get good grades and you want to do well, and you want to get, you want to be somewhere that's going to set you up for your future, even after baseball. So that's priority number one, the schooling. Secondly, I mean, where you're going to play. You want opportunity, and you want to play, and you want to have coaches that are going to believe in you. It's tough to tell that from, being on the outside and only meeting these coaches once or twice. But you have to just do your best to, judge it and make the right decision. I mean, hopefully the coach has good philosophy and he believes in you as a player. And I mean, ultimately you want a coach to treat all of his players differently and give everybody opportunity. I mean, that's the most fair way to win a job, not, shelf a kid and, give up on him when he's not doing well.
Right. Definitely. 235radio.com. We got Paul Campbell with us today. So, Paul, what was your daily routine like when you were in high school, and what I know you as a young man. Very, I mean, when I'm talking young, I'm talking in Little League. You always were the hard throwing right-hander, right? So, really, how did you progress? What did you do to maintain on top and separate yourselves from the other hard-throwing right-handers or throwers, period?
I
When
think
you were
the
young.
biggest thing that I think the biggest thing that came into play was competitiveness especially when I started playing, out of town and stuff like that. When I was playing with, some better competition, it was what's going to be the separator here. And it was just that, you got to have that grittiness and that willing to win. That's going to put you above your competition, even if, they may throw harder or, you're going up against a bigger batter, whatever it may be. I think that's definitely a separator.
So, Paul, like even if you sit there and you might want it, you might have the biggest chip on your shoulder, but at the end of the day, that's not going to get you to throw 95, 96.
Yep.
Right? That's not going to give you the best slider in the game.
Yeah, and I mean that can all change. You know what I mean? Like hard work can definitely help you throw harder, or the willingness to work on your slider. Just stuff like that. Like whatever it may be that you want to succeed, you can do as long as you put the work in and you put the right work in. Some people do it the wrong ways.
Devon, you got something for Paul?
Yeah. I mean, so, like you said, as far as you had a grittiness and a chip on your shoulder. I think that is something that, everybody can work at their routine and their workout at the end of the day, but you really need that chip on your shoulder, grittiness, and
That's something you can't teach.
Yeah, it's something you can't teach.
Yeah.
And Paul's had that since day one, man. I've always noticed that from you since we've been playing Sting back and forth still,
Yeah.
Hey, I'll tell you what, man. I tell you what, that age group that you guys were in. I mean, I can name a couple guys right off the bat.
Yeah, there's a lot of good athletes.
And they all had that chip on this. They all had that a little bit of FU in them. You know what I mean? And I'm just glad that you are where you are, man, and you're doing great things, man. So Paul, what happens? You're sitting there and Tampa Bay calls you. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, that was. It was a long process, but it was very up in the air with not pitching a bunch in college. I didn't have a lot of leverage when it came to how much money I was going to make throughout the draft, where I was going to get drafted. It was kind of just like this is where I want to go. Whatever opportunity arises for me, and I just gotta run with it. So the Rays had called me in the 20th round. There was a break between the 20th and 21st round, and we negotiated something. And like I said, I didn't have a lot of leverage, so it wasn't anything crazy. But we made things happen. They took a chance on me, and I got very fortunate with going to the Rays because they're big on development, and they gave me a chance to develop into who I am today. They taught me a lot, and I think that was the biggest thing for me going there. Was I was just a sponge for knowledge. I wanted to know everything and anything I could that would get me better or to help me advance whatever it was, any objective that I could succeed at. I wanted to take it on.
That's great, man. That's great. So I know I asked you earlier if you knew Mauricio Rodriguez. The kid is. Hold on. What does he? I'll get to that question in a second, Steve. Mauricio Rodriguez, he was telling us how he went to Belmont Hill, and there were some guys that played there that got more playing time and got more nods than he did, and actually, similar to you, he just stayed true to the process, believed in himself. He never quit and just kept grinding, and he saw himself leaps and bounds in front of the guys that were getting the nods and getting the go-aheads in school. I'm sure you see the same things with some of those guys that were eating up those innings at Clemson, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
That's great, and that's just pure determination on your part. Because you could have easily turned around and said, you know what, that's it, I'm done here.
Yep, absolutely.
So
like I said,
how do you go
making
about
the most
that?
of your opportunities.
How do you deal with that though? That's gotta be tough, man. You go in there. Was it good communication between you and the coach? I mean, how do you
Yeah, I
deal
mean,
with that?
I tried my best. I had multiple meetings with the coaches when things weren't going the way that I wanted them to, and I got shut down and I got closed off from opportunity. I mean, bottom line, that's what it really came down to. I got shut out of opportunities, and at the end of the day, somebody else gave me an opportunity, and I just did what I could do with it. I just kept working hard.
That's awesome, man.
Hey, we got a question from one of our coaches, Steve Ramirez. His son Cruz is in the program. His son is actually ambidextrous. The kid's 9 years old. And he throws lefty and righty. It's pretty cool to watch. He wants to know what does Paul do to stay ready in the off season?
Train, sleep, mobility, recovery.
Sleep. How much do you sleep?
I sleep about 9-10 hours a night. I try to at least.
That's good rest, man.
You have to. That's a key part of your development is rest.
Do you
rest and recovery.
Do you study the game a lot of film? And when did you start doing it?
Yeah,
if you do,
I like studying film, especially before I face a team. Film on myself, I feel like is better for me to watch when I'm watching it with somebody else. Just so I don't get caught up in my own thoughts, I can kind of bounce my thoughts off somebody else. That's where I enjoy watching video with other coaches or players or whoever's around.
So Paul, right now, who would you say? It's actually like a two-part question, right? Who would you say was the biggest player that you have faced in your journey right now?
Well, right after the Red Sox that won the World Series, we were finishing up in spring training, and there were a couple of guys that stayed back. Stephen Pearce, he was the World Series MVP. So that was pretty cool to face him right after the World Series.
How'd that go?
I got to face Pedroia.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think any of them got any hits. I think I only struck out one of their big leaguers, but I think it was all ground balls. Yeah, like I faced Sandy Leone. It was pretty cool facing Pedroia, you know what I mean? Just being from Boston and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, you probably had Pedroia.
He's an icon in this city, man.
He probably had his jersey growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know I'm bouncing around a little bit. I'm pretty new at this. I don't know if you know that, Paul, but I'm pretty new at this podcast thing. I'm trying to get better at it, right? So
yeah, now you're good. Me too.
Well, you're doing great, man. So, Paul, when and where did you know that you were going to be a pitcher only? Because I know you dressed for us for the Giants once, and you actually you caught for us.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that because one of my teammates now that I'm with the Marlins is pretty much he was the deciding factor of me becoming a position player. I mean, a pitcher only.
Really?
Yeah, a guy named Isan Diaz from Springfield.
Oh,
he's a big leaguer with the Marlins now, and
shortstop,
when he
right?
came over, when he came over with the New England Roughnecks, that was the end of Paul Campbell playing shortstop.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jordan, Isan Diaz, is that Luke's boy? Yeah. That's the kid from Springfield, right? Where did he play for before? Is that kid always been in Miami?
I think so, yeah.
Or was he in?
I'm pretty sure he got drafted by the D-backs.
D-backs.
And then
That's
got traded to the Brewers, and then I believe was in the Christian Yelich trade with the Marlins.
Christian Yelich, man.
Wow, man, that's.
Yeah.
So
he's a really good ball player.
Right on, man. Yeah, you know what, Jordan's barber always talks about him. I guess they're good childhood friends. My buddy always says baseball's a small world, man.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you?
Absolutely.
You were a freshman or something in school when that happened?
When what happened?
When
I became a pitcher only?
Yeah. when you saw the kid at short and you said, huh, that's it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that I was eventually going to become a pitcher only. Um, I mean, do I think I could have played another position? Yeah. Was it going to be shortstop? I don't know. Probably not at the next level. Um, I don't think I ever had the greatest bat. I just had the arm.
Right. So that's the thing, like with these guys, I mean, nowadays we talked about that easy velo, right? We got these young kids
Mhm.
now. We talk about the kid Baez here in Boston.
Yep.
He's fronting with throwing 100. 17 years old, and
Yeah, it's crazy.
he's hitting the ball 450 feet. I
That's
mean,
insane.
where'd he go? Is he a position player?
Think
Or
Yeah,
is,
I mean,
or is
some
he?
guys can do it, but it's tough. It takes a lot of dedication to master both pitching and hitting, and playing a position because it's a lot of work out of your day, and
Yeah,
then recovering from it all is even more important.
that the pitcher over there in California.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think the guy's name, the Asian kid.
Oh, you talking about Shohei Ohtani?
Oh, Tani.
Yep.
Like
Ohtani.
Otani. Unicorn. Freak.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I mean, that's.
Yeah.
So,
Some people are very gifted, and I mean, some people work extremely hard to be able to be good at both of those things. That's what it really comes down to.
yeah, but you really think about it, Paul, if you were asked in a 24-hour day, to be a pro ball player, how many hours do you work on being a pro pitcher?
Um, I mean, if you count your sleep and the way you eat, I mean, pretty much your whole day gets consumed with, you know, getting better each day. And that even comes with, just rest and relaxation, just, letting your mind be free and not being consumed in the game. Like that's a big part of it too. Um, I don't know. That's tough to say. I mean, I spend probably 3 to 4 hours a day at the gym, and then I don't know, another hour or two on mobility and doing some. I've been doing infrared saunas lately, just to help in the recovery process. Um, so yeah, I don't know, 6, 8, sometimes 10-hour days.
Yeah, you see, it, it's it's nice. It's nice to hear stuff like that, just so people understand that to become a pro athlete, because growing up in Boston, I know you hear the sports talk radio and stuff, and guys get roasted all the time, and then you go to work the next day and like, oh, these guys make all
Yeah.
types of money to play a kid's game, and 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 it's amazing to me how many people are really under the assumption that guys like you wake up in the morning, put a baseball in your hand, and every 5 days you just go on the bump and shove.
Yeah.
That's what they think.
Yeah,
That's
I mean that's the thing, the guys who are succeeding the most, it's not just out of nowhere. It's the work I put in, and you're just seeing them shine now. And nobody rolls out of bed and just becomes MVP.
right.
Long road. Long road,
Hmm.
man.
So let's say right now you're in the big game, right? Let's say you're in a big game, Paul, and who's high in his division right now?
In his division,
Yeah, who's hot?
Gleyber Torres.
So let's say Torres is up, game's on the line. You're about to make the playoffs. You're on the bump. Now it's not COVID anymore. Stadium's packed. People are breathing down your neck. 50,000 people are telling you suck. How, how do you stay calm?
Breathe.
Breathe.
Yeah, visualization plays a big role into it. You know what I mean? Like, especially before, somewhere you've never been before, you need to visualize your own success in those situations.
Right on. So Paul, what do you step off the mound? I mean, how do you do it? Take me through it, man. I got my eyes closed. I'm
I mean,
watching you.
that's where, you were talking about watching film earlier. That's where watching film comes into play. Um, just visualizing yourself facing those hitters before you actually face them, visualizing yourself being on whatever mound it is at whatever ballpark it is, having success. Um, and then, when you're in the moment, you have to just get wrapped up in it and have fun and compete and just let all your hard work, play out. And, if things go if things go your way, then they go your way. And if they don't, they don't. You learn from it and you move forward and, you get ready for your next opportunity, because, I mean, one day you're not going to have any more opportunities, but, make the most of the ones that you do have now.
Yeah, let's see. Matt Santos, you have Coach Julio walk out there and ask him if he knows the score of the Celtics game to get his mind off things. Matty Santos talking crazy. So, who would you love to face that's in the bigs right now?
Um,
Who would be, the guy like, man, I've made it. I'm facing this guy.
I don't think there's any specific player. I mean, obviously, like getting the big guys out, like Mike Trout, Mookie, Tatis, guys like that. Um, but I think just overall, just proving to not only yourself but to other people that you belong in the big leagues is going to be the biggest thing for me.
I tell you, man, Paul, I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan because, it seems like every time I've reached out to you, and not that I've reached out to you often, but every time I have reached out for you, man, you have definitely stepped up. You've been a guy that's come through our doors and given talks to our young people and inspired them to do better and do more, man, and that's great, man. Congratulations to you, Paul.
Thank you.
I want to know how that was, man. When the whole Rule 5 draft situation. Can you walk us through that? How that worked?
Yeah, it was. It's a little bit confusing of a thing, but pretty much what it comes down to is it's just like a redraft. Everybody gets a chance to be eligible to get redrafted by other teams if you're not protected by the team that you're currently with. So if you're not currently on a 40-man roster of a team, after 5 years of high school or 4 years of college, at post during your professional career, you're eligible for this redraft, and then if a team wants to pick you up, then they have to put you on their 40-man roster. That's on the major league phase of it, and then there's a minor league phase of it that I believe I'm not completely sure, but I believe you have to go one level higher than you were the year previous. But yeah, I mean, it's just another draft that creates opportunity for people.
Yeah, I started looking into that a little bit, and I
Yeah.
believe you are right.
Mhm.
So now
Yeah.
with that draft, what if you don't get the call? Does that mean you're out of a job?
No, then I get offered back to Tampa Bay if I don't make the 26-man roster come opening day. I believe.
Okay, so there's a possibility to go back to Tampa right now.
Yep.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah.
so
If I don't get put on the 26-man roster, I believe they get first dibs, and then if they don't buy me back, then I believe I get put on waivers, and that would mean I'm up for grabs by any team, or I would go back. I'm not really sure how it works, to be perfectly honest. There's a lot that goes into it.
the business side, the business side of things is a
Yeah.
little it seems like it's very confusing, and
Yeah. I mean, that's where you need to have an agent who knows what he's doing and you trust him.
How do you go about doing something like that? How do you go about finding an agent? I mean, they come seek you out. Do you Google one? I mean, how do you go about do that?
Yeah.
You go on Indeed.
I mean, it happens different for everybody. I mean, it could be somebody, like luckily, I had a guy named Jack Toffey who, his son had coached me at Salisbury, who eventually became my agent. And whatever, I just recently moved to another agency, a bigger agency called CAA Sports. They've done an awesome job so far. But I mean, I don't know. If you're going to get the recognition, you're going to get the recognition that you're going to get from playing. There are definitely going to be people who, come to help you and guide you. And, there's some people that are bad that, come to take money out of your pockets. Not that I've dealt with that at all, luckily. But, yeah, I think it just comes from, opportunity. Once again, is, where's the opportunity for an agent to come fulfill what you need him to do for you?
Do you think it's valuable for an athlete to have an agent? I sit back. I'm not
Yeah, I think it is valuable, especially, in a situation like mine where, my dad's not involved in baseball or anything like that. He doesn't know the ins and outs of baseball and getting drafted, or I didn't have any other guidance in that field, going into it.
So now okay. I'm glad you touched on that. So now let's say you're high end talent in high school, which you were. You went to Salisbury, right?
Hmm.
So you went to Salisbury. You were on that powerhouse team. A lot of your teammates were high end ball players.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys have what they call advisors? And do you think they helped at that point to really guide you and have these schools reach out to you and make you offers? Or do you think at that point it wasn't needed? It's more when you were in college that you really needed an advisor, because they can't be
Yeah.
agents till you sign, right? They can only advise
Yeah,
you.
I'm not even sure how that stuff works. Like I never like signed any papers or did anything like that
Yeah.
when I was in high school. It was just me and my dad,
Right.
kind of doing our own thing, figuring it all out on our own. Did we get guidance from coaches and stuff like that? Yeah. Um, but I think the people who need agents the most are people who are going into professional baseball. Once it really starts becoming about money and your livelihood and your career, then I think it's important to have people who understand it a lot better than you do.
Okay. Right on.
Hmm.
Javon, you got something for Paul?
I just want to take a look at that glove you got over there, man.
This little piece right here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, this is my Rawlings. I had it from last year, but we'll see if it makes a debut this year.
Clean. Mint. Look at
Yeah.
it. Clean.
It's official.
Yeah, we'll see if it makes a debut this year.
I'm sure it will, man.
Yeah.
So it's Rawlings over Wilson.
Yeah, I was with Wilson before, but some things happened, so I decided to switch over to Rawlings. I had never really worn Rawlings before, but I really like it so far.
That's great. Paul, I do
Yep.
have a question. So dealing with your adversity, can you kind of give us an example of some adversity that you faced, whether it was in growing up in Malden or Clemson, or
Mhm.
any type of adversity that you faced, and kind of what triggered your mind to tell you, I'm not gonna let this knock me down or affect me. I'm gonna work harder.
Yeah, one where we grew up is, it was a little gritty. Um, I grew up in the projects in Malden, so it was nothing, easy about growing up, but we made do with what we had, and our neighborhood was, it wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't the worst either. There's a lot of family that I have, that still live there. Um, But I mean, just as far as adversity goes, I mean, there's been adversity, you know, every step of the way, whether it's an injury or, you know, a coach that doesn't like you or playing time or, you know, success in itself. You know what I mean? Even when I wasn't pitching my best, you know, I just never, I think the biggest thing is just not losing faith in yourself and believing that you can overcome adversity. Um, that's the biggest thing with adversity. I think is just believing in yourself that you can overcome it. And even when you're at your lowest, that's not you. You can still shine, you know?
I love it. I
Um,
love it.
you know, I'd say like going back, like obviously college was a lot of adversity. One going in and, you know, not being the best guy on the team or, you know, being a young guy on a team. You know, I wasn't really used to that. I wasn't used to being 18 years old playing kids 4 years older than I was. But you know, that stuff happens in college. That's something you have to adapt to and learn, you know, how to step up to the plate.
I, 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 I think it's very true when they say that. So, schools like to try to get guys out of junior college because of the maturity level.
Hmm.
Do you see that a lot? Did you see that a lot in school? A lot of kids from JUCOs come through at Clemson, or was it more 4 year
Yeah, we had a
players?
few. I mean, I wouldn't say that there was like a overload of JUCO guys. But yeah, there's definitely a fair share of JUCO guys that go around and, you know, plug their way into programs and do really well. Um, I think what JUCOs you go to, it means a lot as far as, you know, where schools are looking and stuff like that. But I mean, when it really comes down to it, if you can perform at a high level, and doesn't matter whether you're Division 1, Division 2, or Division 3, um, I mean, hopefully you get some recognition, and once you get recognition, I mean, you just have to take off with whatever opportunities that you get. Like I have a friend who he was a D3 pitcher, had really good numbers in college, got with the Rays. You know, didn't get drafted anything super high or anything crazy like that, but he got an opportunity with the Rays, and every opportunity just makes the most of it and runs with it. And now he was just pitching in the playoffs. You know, like it's
Wow.
crazy.
That is crazy.
You
Was that D3 school down south?
know. No, I believe it's in St. Louis.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
I
got tough
believe the
weather up
school that he
there.
went to is in St. Louis. I know he's from St. Louis. Um, but yeah, I mean, you know, anything can happen. All you need is an opportunity. All you need is, you know, one right person to see you.
Right.
Uh, you know, and that's where I got lucky enough. You know, I put myself in certain situations, and I was fortunate enough to be with, you know, the right teams and have the right people on my side. I didn't do all this on my own by any means. I had, you know, a great support system along the way. I mean, you know, my father, like he's a workaholic. He's pushed me to be where I am today more than anybody.
How's he
Uh,
doing? All right.
yeah, he's doing great.
He must
Yeah,
be.
he was just down visiting me. He just got back up to Boston, I believe, yesterday.
He must be proud of you.
Yeah, absolutely,
Right on, man. Yeah, I mean, he put in a lot of time with you. I remember watching you guys at
absolutely.
K-Step
KSF
Park.
Park.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
That's where
enjoy
it all
it.
starts, man. I tell you, that's what
Yep,
I wouldn't be here today. To be honest with you, I don't think I'd be here today or be involved with baseball as heavily as I am right now if it wasn't for the love that I have for playing catch with my kids. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
That's something that, man, I think every parent, every guardian should experience. It's just it's just a great experience. So Paul, let's say you got a game at 7:10. What time do you get to the field?
I usually get to the field around 2 hours beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah, an hour and a half to 2 hours beforehand. Relax a little bit, grab something to eat. Um, then I'll start rolling out, get going, move my body around. Um, then I'll start getting you know, start getting warm, doing some med ball stuff like that, building up a little sweat. Then I'll see my trainer for a stretch. then I'll head out to the field, do some more running, moving around, get my arm loose, and then start throwing and get ready for the game.
Paul, Jesus, I had a question and I went blank.
It happens. Hey,
Go ahead, take it.
yeah, Paul. So, being in the Marlins system, I feel as if that program really lets their young guys. I mean, right now a lot of the young guys are throwing. So, do you feel like this organization is gonna get you an opportunity to throw in the bigs?
I mean, hopefully. I mean, I believe that they took me for a reason. So just whatever opportunities that they do give me, I just have to try to make the most of them and ultimately have fun. You know, it's all a big process, and you know there is a lot of the business side of things, but you got to have fun. You know, that's I think priority number one. Just have fun and enjoy myself in the present, and make the most of the opportunities that I get.
That's awesome.
Paul, so did they say, are you going to be a starter, mid reliever, closer? Do you know what type of role you'll be in?
I'm not really sure quite yet. They do need some depth in the bullpen, I believe. But like I said, I mean, I'm going into it open-minded, and whatever opportunity that I get, I'm just going to try to make the most of it, whether it be starting, mid-relief, late inning, whatever it is. Just try to help them win ball games.
How about
It's a beautiful park as well.
How about
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
How about as far as your best pitch?
Probably my cutter.
Your cutter. Okay, what's the grip look like?
Best way I can describe it is taking this this logo here.
I knew you were gonna have
These
that ball.
two
in your
fingers
hand.
on the corner right there, thumb on the side, and just making sure that you're climbing the ball and cutting it.
That's your punch out pitch right there.
Most of the time, yeah. Or I'll just let the heater ride.
Now, do you see your fastball rise at all? Is that or is so? I've heard that it's impossible.
I do have high spin rate on my fastball and my curveball. I mean, I wouldn't say it rises, but it might stay on plane a little bit longer than some other fastballs. But I mean, I don't know.
So that
I
deceives
try
the batter.
to learn the most that I can about analytics and apply it. But there's only so much you can do. You got to go out there and compete.
100%.
Yeah, at the end of the dog, at the end of the day,
Yeah,
you gotta be a dog.
That's stuff you work on, in the off season and in your bullpens and stuff like that. When it comes game time, you got to execute pitches.
Now, Paul, I got another question for you. So you've always been a hard throwing right-hander since we were young kids. You've always had a cannon. Now that can get you a long way in itself. But when did you realize you had to become a pitcher and not just a thrower?
I'd say as soon as I started playing, better competition. I mean, when I when I figured out I have to start throwing a breaking ball and a changeup, probably around 13 years old. That's when I first started throwing a breaking ball and a changeup, and then I mean, as time went on, it became even more important. The better the hitters get, the more selective they get, and that's when you got to be able to execute multiple pitches.
Did you have any coaches that kind of helped you with your game plan when it came to that?
What was that?
Did you have any coaches that helped you with your game plan on how to attack certain batters?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing once I got into professional baseball, that they forced me to have a game plan, and they would write it down for me, and it was my job to go out there and execute the game plan. Even if it was, like when I got into pro ball, I didn't have a great changeup and I didn't have a lot of belief in it. And that's what I worked on my first half season was, let's get this changeup down, so that way I could become a starter and I wasn't just stuck as a reliever with two pitches. And I believe that that's the reason why I am where I am today, because I can throw 4 different pitches for strikes.
I hear the change is the most important pitch to learn.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, especially when you get to the highest levels. In high school and stuff like that, if you have a really good changeup, you have a really good changeup. But it's not something that you're going to overpower high school hitters with, because their bat's probably already behind as it is. But when it comes to, switching speeds on big leaguers, that's when changeups become even more important.
Right. Well, Paul, man, I know that you've been you thought this thing was gonna last to 6 o'clock, man. You've been a great sport, hanging with us at
Absolutely.
6:45. Young man, I'm a fan. I will always champion you, man, and I'm looking forward to see you on the big screen, rooting you on, man. Do you have any advice for the rest of the Northeast up here, to the rest of the young folks that might be listening in?
First and foremost, stay warm. Just say, just work hard, believe in yourself, make the most of your opportunities, seek advice, continue to learn always. That's about all I got.
Jovan, you got something?
I just want to say thanks, Paul, man. I appreciate you coming on and, showing some love. And it was,
Absolutely.
good to hear from you. Good to see you, man.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Yep, and I wish you the best in your future endeavors, man.
All right, thanks,
I know
guys.
you're going to shine, brother.
Absolutely appreciate it.
All right, Paul, take care. 235
All right,
Radio,
you guys.
Baseball's Dead.
All right,
Paul
Paul.
Campbell. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
See you guys.
See you, Paul.